What's up, friend, and welcome to this episode of the Empowered Mission Podcast. I am feeling so energized right now to be here, mainly because I have not recorded any episodes in the past month. So I'm really excited to be back to bring y'all the energy, the tips, the advice to help you grow into the incredible person that you are meant to become. Hence the reason why I wanted to take this episode and talk about the beauty of taking risks and how you can get more confident in taking more of them. So the word risk comes with a lot of positive energy, but it can also come with a lot of fear and worry. And naturally so, right? Rightfully so, because when something is risky, you don't know the end result. It could either be incredibly amazing or it could be absolutely terrible. Hence the reason for it being risky in the first place. You just never know. But the beautiful thing in taking risks is that your adrenaline is pumping because it's so exciting. A lot of times it's a new journey and it causes you to step out on faith. And that faith journey can be one of the most incredible journeys and experiences to ever be on. Something to always keep in mind is that God will call us to walk by faith. Because when you walk by faith, you are believing in things that you hope for, in things that you cannot see yet, and you're trusting God with whatever that end result might be. So in this episode, I really want to dive into giving you some tips in getting more confident in taking risks and why you should. So let's go ahead and start with that why first, before I dive into the tip aspect of this episode. When it comes to taking risks, you are never going to feel comfortable. Never. As I mentioned earlier, there's always going to be something to worry about, something to doubt, something to fear when you're stepping out on a limb and taking a risk in an area of your life. So it's never going to feel comfortable, and it shouldn't. The reason why is because as human beings living in this world, our life's journey should be about finding joy, finding peace, discovering our purpose. Yes, all of that. But in order to get there, it's important for us to continuously grow. Grow mentally, emotionally, and in whatever endeavor that we're chasing after. But the thing about growth is that you cannot grow in comfort. It takes discomfort in order for you to grow. Hence, taking risks causes you to grow in any or multiple areas of your life. And what does that growth do? It's one step closer to becoming the person that you were always destined to be. So be mindful of the fact that when it comes to taking risks, it's never going to feel comfortable. If you're waiting for that right time to take this one specific risk, there's never going to feel like a perfect right time to take it. But you can work on becoming more confident in taking that risk. So let's go ahead and dive into some tips that I want to share with you to help you in doing that. My first piece of advice, be very mindful in who you talk to about the risks that you're taking. You should be talking to people that will uplift you, that will give you helpful advice, or that will give you constructive criticism based off of their experiences in taking the same or very similar risks in their life. When we're in a season of taking risks, we're in a very sensitive space, meaning that in our mind, we're already overly thinking, overly worrying, contemplating all of the fears that come with taking that risk, right? So we're already so sensitive because we're having to internally battle what's going on in our thoughts of what could happen when taking those risks. So any other outside voice that can impact that can make all the difference in whether we choose to take that risk or not. So you have to be careful in who you talk to about this. Because when you feel compelled to take a risk and you're in that sensitive space of I don't know, this is making me nervous, all that kind of stuff, you need community. You need people around you that are going to uplift you, that are going to help guide you, that are going to help support you and give you advice as you journey out. But let me be very clear. There's a difference between people that give you helpful advice and constructive criticism versus people that are putting their fears onto you. Those fears can come from a place of them going through similar or the same risks and feeling like they failed, or it could come from a place of them feeling like they never could take that risk because fear kept them from doing so, and therefore they want to put their previous fears onto you. Massive difference between the two. Hence why you have to be careful who you talk to about the risks that you're taking. If you talk to the wrong people about these risks, then you could end up stepping into this space of getting offended by them, of becoming angry by what they're saying. It could cause a relationship to break. And the last thing that you want to do when you're in that sensitive zone is to allow your emotions to go crazy because you're receiving the fears that other people are saying onto you. Now, at the end of the day, we can't point fingers. It's not their fault. They're helping in the best way that they know how based off of their past experiences, right? So this isn't a situation where you need to point fingers at someone and say, oh, no, I can't talk to you, or I'm angry by what you just said to me because of XYZ, right? Because at the end of the day, that's their story. So you can't get mad at them. Instead, you gotta internally reflect on yourself and say, you know what? Were they the right person to talk to about this risk in the first place? And who do I need to go to instead? And the people that you go to should uplift you, they should support you, they should help guide you, but they should also give you helpful advice and constructive criticism in the steps to take when it comes to taking that leap of faith. So if you feel compelled to take a specific risk in an area of your life and you want to become more confident in doing so, talk to the right people. Be mindful on who you're sharing your risks with. All right, let's move on to the second tip here. It's going to be really essential for you to ensure that the desire to take the risk you're wanting to take is coming from the right place, not out of haste. Oh, this is so important. And it gives me the chills just talking about it because of how crucial this is. You should be taking risks because you genuinely feel called to do so. You should not be taking risks out of haste or out of impatience, which is a lot of what we tend to do. For example, if you are fed up with your 9-to-5 job and you're ready to take a risk to quit and start your own business, it's not that that's necessarily wrong. You just need to reflect on, am I making this decision out of haste or out of impatience? Or am I making this decision because God told me to, because God told me that it was time to take that jump? If you make decisions out of haste or out of impatience, then you could be missing out on the direct path that God wanted you to stay on in the first place. There could be more learnings there. There could be blessings up ahead. But because you were hasty and impatient, you redirected. You redirected everything. So you want to be careful. Analyze yourself internally. If you are feeling, you know what, I need to take this risk, I'm ready to jump out and take that leap of faith, pray about it. Think more on it. Analyze if this is something that you genuinely feel like God is calling you to do, or if you are wanting to do it out of haste and out of impatience. Making sure that the desire to take that risk is coming from the right place will feed your confidence in such a beautiful way. So I highly recommend doing that. Do that self-reflection, do that analysis within yourself to ensure it's coming from the right place. All right, last tip that I want to give you when it comes to taking risks in any area of your life and getting more confident in it is to have a plan, but don't overplan. I'm going to say that one more time. Have a plan, but do not overplan. When you are getting ready to take a risk, you should be wise. You should have some sort of foundation, some sort of base in how you're going to take that risks and what you plan on doing when you're in the midst of taking that risk. Have a plan. But the challenge is drawing a line between having a plan and over planning. When we overplan, when we overthink, then a lot of times we are stealing the steering wheel of our life out of God's hands and putting it in our own. Because now we want to be in control. We want things to turn out the way that we want them to. So I'm going to overthink, I'm going to overplan, I'm going to overcontemplate. And that can be a very dangerous place to exist. If you overplan and overthink to the point where you are now in control of your life instead of God, then once again, you could be redirected from the path that God wants you on. You could be redirected to the point where you're missing out on the blessings that God wanted for you had you have just trusted him and let him stay in control of your life. Let him stay in control of the risks that you're taking. And I know that this can be really challenging because it was and it is still challenging for me when I am in these moments of having faith, of working hard, of planning in the midst of taking this risk, but understanding where do I need to draw the line. If I start to feel like I'm over planning, then I need to pull back and say, you know what, God, you got it. I trust you with this risk, no matter how it turns out. And a really good way to tell if you are planning versus overly planning is to ask yourself, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? Am I able to find peace as I plan? Or does everything feel so out of control that I'm on the verge of an emotional breakdown? And therefore now I need to snatch that wheel and take control back fully. If you are walking hand in hand with God when taking these risks, when you are putting in the work and the faith, but allowing God to control your life within this risk, then he will open up doors for you. So my point in this tip, plan, but don't overplan. Work hard, but not to the point where God is no longer in control of your life as you step out on a leap of faith and take this risk. So in all of these tips that I'm giving you when it comes to taking a risk, it takes a lot of practice in self-evaluating you. Self-evaluating where your headspace is at, where your mental health is at, where your faith lies. Doing that self-evaluation internally is a day-to-day battle, but it's something that you have to be in order to win that battle and to come out victorious in taking this risk, no matter what that end result looks like. Taking risks can be scary. They can feel incredibly overwhelming. And as I mentioned earlier, it's never going to feel comfortable. You're never going to feel fully 100% ready to take the risks. But you can feel more confident. You can increase your faith. You can walk hand in hand with God in taking this risk. I am literally in this with y'all. And if I can put in the work to overcome, then I know that you're capable of doing that same thing. All right. So to wrap up this episode, I want to continue helping you along your journey, especially when it comes to that last tip of planning, but not overly planning. So linked down below in the podcast show notes or in the YouTube video description down below is my goal setting workbook. I offer this every year. It is absolutely for free, and it's just a really great planner for you to map out your goals, map out your steps, and put yourself in the headspace of writing out your plans, along with constricting yourself from overly planning. So again, it's free, and I really hope that that workbook helps you along your journey. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune into this episode. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that it was inspiring for you. And if you want to share this episode with anyone who might need to hear it, definitely feel free to do so. And in regards to you and the risk that you're taking, I encourage you to do that self-evaluation. I encourage you to step out on faith. And most importantly, get more confident in the risks that you are about to take. Y'all can do this. You got this. We'll see you next time.